Welcome, everybody. Tuesday, January 9th. John Arvosa's here. Finally printed off my notes. Things were a little messy here. I realized at the last second I was about to go live, and I was like, I don't have my notes. So printed them off, and all is well now. Anyway, hey, guys. It's Tuesday. I am back in D.C., as you can see. My connection is probably faster, and I have super-duper connection coming at the end of the week. Comcast is updating my connection, which will be fun. I haven't gone live on TikTok yet. I'm about to, but let me know how the sound is today, because now I'm back in DC with my nice, expensive microphone, and I'm hoping it's better. Because if not, then it's a problem with my laptop, which is really going to suck. But, remember the sound was going, you guys know, the sound was going up and down and doing all, and I sounded like I was underwater. I was listening to it on YouTube, and I know what you mean. Like the underwater thing I could hear too. So, no sound? Sound very low? Oh, hang on. Let me see. Hang on. There we go. How's that now? There we go. All right. Better now? All right. Great audio, Norway. Yay! All right. Let me get TikTok rolling. For whatever the crazy thing is, again, assuming this stays low or stays good, I don't know what the hell's going on then. It kind of sucks, though, because if it's happening when I'm traveling, I do have to travel, So, well, let's see. Okay. All right, let me get TikTok rolling here on my iPad, and we will get rolling. Hang on, guys. TikTok. All right. Low sound. That ought to adjust itself, though. Let me see. If it doesn't adjust itself, I can hit the button again, but it should. All right. Live. Zoom. Hang on. Adjust my lighting a little. Wait for myself. All right. Ukraine war, not a coffee talk. Ukraine war update. Hang on, guys. Going live on TikTok. Update. It tells me to use a well-lit area. What do you think I'm in, guys? TikTok's giving me bad advice. Go live. There we go. All right. All right, so I'm going to turn the sound up more. This is really annoying. Here we go. Okay, I just turned the sound up some more. Hopefully that's enough. All right, TikTok is rolling. Give me a second, guys, and see if the sound is any better. Give it a second. It takes a second for it to kind of adjust. All right, let's see. Yeah, let me know if the sound is still bad, because otherwise, low, because otherwise I can adjust it myself. It's supposed to adjust itself and get better. Okay, there we go. Hey, TikTokers, I am here. Sasha's here. We're in Washington. Woo! Very exciting. Anyway, so how are we all doing today? All right, hang on, guys. I'm going to adjust the mic I'm going to do the mic totally manually here then. All right, let's try this first. All right, let me know. Sorry. Hey, TikTok. We're sort of adjusting the mic on YouTube since I'm back. How's the mic on TikTok right now, guys? On TikTok. TikTok we know is fine. On YouTube, how's the mic? I adjusted it. I can adjust it a little bit more. How's it sounding volume-wise? Hey, guys, thank you, TikTok. We're doing our usual. Mic is being used by another. What the hell does that mean? Sub-only chat? Oh, geez. Hold on. TikTok. What is wrong with TikTok? Sometimes I really just don't understand. I really just don't understand. Oh. Sub-only live. Oh, sub-only chat. There we go. Okay, now you're all back on TikTok. Okay, I can, and I'll adjust it one more time on YouTube. Hang on, guys, we're back. So, all right, YouTube, I just put it up a significant amount, but let's make sure it's not blowing it out of the water, too. All right. Hey, TikTok. Okay, hopefully that's a little better. Hey, Michigan. Hey, guys. All right, here we go. YouTube is good, doing better than Gary Gensler. Oh, the FEC guy. Full volume, still low. I can't help you too much more, guys. Hey, Croatia. Hey, Jedamom. Thank you, guys. Back in D.C. Very exciting. Very exciting. Oh, boy. I may need to buy a little device for my computer, too. When I'm back in D.C. In Washington, in Chicago, who knows? But thank you, John, for the gift there. So I'm still adjusting things a little. Yep, back in D.C., so kind of adjusting my volume and all sorts of things. So anyway, the weather here is not as bad as it was supposed to be. We were supposed to get rain and horrific winds and everything else in D.C., and it's not really doing much of anything. Thank you, Red and Charles, for the gifts there. Who else do we have some gifts from that I saw? So I saw other gifts. Joe and John and Life. And Joe again, and Jetta and Mark. Hey, Alexander, good to see you again. Okay, sound is good. Woo-woo! All right. So, how are we doing, guys? I am back in DC, as you can see. Thank you, Carol, for the gift. Very excited. I love to visit Mom in Chicago, but the show is weird. It's hard when I'm not at home, you know? This is, I will tell you one thing, though. On TikTok, I'm getting some weird message at the top of the screen that says, viewers may not be able to hear you because your mic is being used by something else. I assume you can hear me fine on TikTok, right? I mean, literally, this is the mic. Actually, let me tap this. Can you actually hear the tap when I'm hitting this? If you can, are you hearing the tap when I'm hitting this? Thank you, M. Fuller. Just to make sure this is the mic. Okay, then that's the mic. Then TikTok is out of its mind. Okay. Hey, Shane. Yeah, no, good to be back in my old bed, although I did wake up a lot, and the dog was not sleeping well, so every time she doesn't sleep well, I don't sleep well, and, but still. It's nice to be back home. I've got my... And all my Christmas gifts, by the way, gifts from you guys and gifts from my family were all here. I got some lovely truffle oil, actually birthday gift going back to November, from one of you, and some salt and pepper shakers and lots of other stuff, which was very cute. So thank you all for that. Thank you, Bryce. And actually, I've got my, what do you call the Microsoft, not PlayStation, I should know this, the Microsoft One, I got for myself for Christmas. So I'm going to be probably booting that up tonight. So that'll be fun. Going to play Baldur's Gate finally. Well, Xbox. Thank you. I'm an idiot. I should know that. Xbox. Actually, I follow the Xbox founder and I follow each other on Twitter, which is really bad that I don't remember it's Xbox, but very cool guy. He does all sorts of bread recipes and stuff, and he also happens to be the guy who created Xbox, which is really neat. He's got kind of a cool name. Anyway, very interesting. All right, guys, we can get rolling here, I think. I have, thank you, C3. But as I said, I'm back in DC. Final news. So the other really good thing here as far as the broadcasts, thank you, Carol, is Friday I am going to, Xfinity is coming out, my cable company, says that there's, I was going to grab, one of these times I'm going to grab that weird little message. Thank you for the gift there, Critter, Martin, C3, and Carol. Xfinity's coming out Friday and giving me a free upgrade to the speed for my internet. And supposedly it will be much faster. So what I will be curious to see is how the quality looks on TikTok and YouTube, etc., as to whether you guys notice the difference. Very interesting, especially on YouTube. TikTok, I think the quality ends up being pretty good anyway. But on YouTube, it just isn't the quality it should be. But we shall see. We shall see. I know he does his sourdough and everything else. He did chocolate recently, which is very cool. All right, guys, let me get rolling here. I am John Arvosis. Welcome all. Thank you, Ellie. I am back in Washington, D.C. finally. Actually, my thing still says Chicago on YouTube. Sorry about that. But welcome all. This is my weekly show, actually daily. I do it Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S., talking about the latest news from Ukraine. I also throw in other news stories as they come up because this is a politics show. But again, mostly the politics. Thank you, Justin and Adventures, for the gifts on TikTok. Most of the politics is Ukraine, but especially going into the election year. The American elections are actually this year. Later this year, we've got our first primary for the Republicans in Iowa in maybe a week. So I'm going to be certainly reporting on the American elections and that stuff as well. And you see it reflected in my TikTok account. I've already got some videos up today about a couple different election things, Trump things, etc. So, but anyway, today is going to be Ukraine because the news is a lot of Ukraine news. And I wasn't here yesterday since I just flew in at like 6 o'clock last night. So couldn't do the show. But let's get rolling. Just to remind you, if you're new here, the way I do the show is I go through the news, try to sort of pick out the stories I think matter, and then walk you through those stories, tell you what I think is actually going on. I try to sort of look at stories that give you a larger sense of what's going on with the war, and then take your guys' questions. Now, as a thank you for people that want to support my work, thank you, Bappo. If anybody wants to buy a super chat question on YouTube, I will always answer that as the next thing I talk about. Otherwise, thank you, Ava. At the second half of the show, second half of the show, I take your guys' questions anyway. Finally, I will be very happy if you keep the gifts coming on TikTok and YouTube because, as I always tell you guys, I'm a broken record, but I do this for a living. Thank you, Marie. I do this for a living, and I am basically able to do this by your guys' gifts. Your guys' gifts pay the bills. which have been letting me do this. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, let me get rolling here. So today is day 684 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. Oh, thank you, Chris, for the Bitcoin eyes, I guess. Thank you, Mustard. Secret. Let me start with this sort of secret meeting thing. There was a secret meeting that apparently took place last month. Thank you, Annie. Oh, that's very cool. Thank you, Annie. It's kind of a New Year's explosion thing. Thank you, Mustard. Lots of gifts coming in tonight. Thank you, guys. I am finally back in DC. Thank you, Mustard. The secret meeting took place. Thank you. Who's it? Fred. A secret meeting took place between the U.S. Hang on here. All right, I'm only going a touch more, and that's it. Yeah, the volume is what it is for right now, guys. Nothing else I can do. But secret meeting took place between the U.S. Let me pull this up for you. It's a group of 7 allies, which are basically the top economies in Europe, and a small group of global South countries trying to rally support for Ukraine's position vis-a-vis Russia in terms of negotiations. The idea was basically, I think, to get a coalition together supporting Ukraine so that when Ukraine and Russia finally negotiate, they will be able to basically have Ukraine, a number of countries on its side, not just America and Europe, but a number of the southern countries, whether in Africa or Latin America or Asia. Thank you, Joe, for the gift. Let me see here. The group included, let me see. Where was it? Oh, do I have the list here? It included a number of the countries that have been involved in 4, but some of them I know what it was. Brazil, United Arab Emirates, and China did not show up for this gathering. They did show up for previous gatherings. But bottom line is they weren't really able to agree to anything. I'm mentioning it because, thank you, Alex, it is good that there is some, I don't want to call it movement, but there's some effort that at least we weren't aware of countries trying to get together and come to some kind of a unified support on what's going on. But nonetheless, thank you, Pedro, no real decision made on supporting Ukraine. This was interesting. So Ukraine, I sort of heard the first story of this right now. Ukraine was hitting Russia's electrical facilities over the weekend. Several drones struck facilities of a fuel and energy complex in a Russian region on the afternoon of the 9th, which would be actually today, according to the governor. Now, what's interesting about that is Russia has been nonstop hitting Ukrainians' electrical infrastructure since the war started. Thank you, Alex. Particularly last winter, Russia went nuts trying to knock out Ukrainian power. The idea is basically to freeze the Ukrainians to death over the winter. They have very harsh winters, as you can imagine, similar to Russian winters, and the Russians wanted to freeze everybody and put pressure on the Ukrainians to basically end the war by saying, if we freeze all your people, maybe you'll stop. Well, this time around, the Ukrainians have said multiple times, including Zelensky on 60 Minutes, an American news show, but then Ukrainians said it a few times other, that if the Russians once again go after the Ukrainians' electrical infrastructure to try to knock out the power in the winter, the Ukrainians would do the same to the Russians. This is the first story I've seen of the Ukrainians actually going after fuel and energy complexes. So hoping that continues, because at this point I think the Russians kind of need a taste of their own medicine, or this stuff's never going to get better. Ukrainian special forces reportedly destroyed 2 Russian anti-aircraft systems in the Belgorod region. You will recall that Belgorod, we're back to the other map, Belgorod is the region right across the Russian border here from Kharkiv, Ukraine. Very close, like maybe 15 miles, 25 kilometers from the border, very close. And the Ukrainians reportedly destroyed 2 Russian anti-aircraft systems. Video showed 2 Panzer S-1 surface-to-air missile complexes valued at $15 million each have been taken out by the Ukrainians, so that's good news. Germany, this is interesting. Germany, well, the Ukrainians took it out, so it is good news. Germany, according to Politico, good Germany has stepped up. I've sort of said this from the beginning of the war. At the beginning of the war, we sort of had bad Germany stepping up a lot. Germany was kind of like France, was kind of, needed to be cajoled a lot. Germany lately has been great. All other than other than the provision of Taurus cruise missiles, which Ukraine very much needs, and the German chancellor is just refusing to provide. And it's not clear why he's refusing. That's a big deal. But other than that, Germany's been very good. Today, the German chancellor came out with a really sort of stern warning and actually rebuke of other European countries without naming them, but he was actually putting pressure on Italy, Spain, and who's the third? France, actually, France. Let me read you a little bit more about this from Politico. He warned that we need higher contributions from European countries. He says, I therefore call on our allies in the European Union to also step up their efforts in support of Ukraine. The arms deliveries for Ukraine planned so far by the majority of EU members states are by all means too small. That's very cool. As I was saying, he was clearly trying to put pressure on France, Spain, and Italy. And then Politico noted just how big the contributions have been from Germany versus the other countries. Listen to this. Germany was the second highest donor to Ukraine after the U.S. in terms of gross amount given. Germany's support for Ukraine has been 17.1 billion euros. That's around the same in dollars. Euros and dollars are pretty close to each other. Followed by the UK with 6.6 billion euros, and by the Nordic and Eastern European countries. France, in comparison, now, okay, once again, Germany has provided 17 billion euros in support for Ukraine. France has provided 0.54 billion euros. Italy has provided 0.69 billion euros. Spain has provided 0.34 billion euros. Just to remind you, Germany has provided 17 billion, okay? Important to say because, again, the Germans have been good and the other countries need to step up. Some other news on this front, Hungary might be coming around in terms of supporting Ukraine. Well, I mean, not supporting Ukraine, but Hungary has thrown a wrench into European Union plans to provide Ukraine with more financial aid and military aid. Hungary said no. Hungary, you've got to remember, is run by a wannabe dictator named Orban. He's far right, very much a wannabe fascist, really. Thank you, Alex. And I would argue wannabe Eastern European dictator as well. Orban is a big friend of Putin. He likes Putin. He doesn't like Ukraine. He is a Putin stooge in many ways. And for that reason, among others, he doesn't want to help Ukraine because Putin doesn't want to help Ukraine. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons, but that's why. Well, Orban signaled that he might be willing to consider, thank you, Jeremy, annual, I'm trying to think. Let me explain first. Okay, to explain this, let me explain what Europe wanted first. The Europeans were talking about doing 50 billion euros with a B, 50 billion euros in aid to the Ukrainians over 5 years and setting up a 5-year plan, basically. And the idea was that Ukraine knows how much it's getting each year and Russia knows how much Ukraine is getting. Right? The idea with, and actually U.S. does this with Israel over like 10 years. The idea is you make it very clear to their enemies that they're getting your support and they're getting your support for the long term. So Russia doesn't go, aha, in a year we'll have those Europeans. They won't give Ukraine anymore. If the Ukrainians already give, or not give, but provide the money up front, allocate it, however you do it in Europe, for Ukraine to get the money for the next 5 years, then there is no question as to whether the money will be there in a year. And the Russians go, right? The money's there for 5 years. That sucks if you're Russia. Well, what the Hungarians want to do is maybe consider the same amount of money for 5 years, but break it up into 5 tranches, 5 slices. So that would be, 10,000 or 10 billion, 12 billion, depending how you look at it, a year. The Europeans are worried because what the Hungarians want to do is basically vote on it every year. So this year they vote on the first slice of the 5-year plan, 10 billion or whatever. Next year they vote on the second slice. And the idea is the Hungarians can be a pain in the butt every year, veto it every year, and basically hold it hostage for more concessions. So the other European countries are not thrilled with this. I mean, it's a step in the right direction because Hungary is backing down from saying no, not at all. But it's still Hungary playing games, which is not good. Ukrainian factories, thank you, Adventures, for the TikTok gift. Ukrainian factories have ramped up production of military drones to the extent that Kyiv's procurement budget for them is no longer sufficient. This was an interesting story. So basically, Ukraine has, its industry is making enough drones that Ukraine doesn't have enough money to pay for them. So the limiting factor right now isn't really the production of drones, it's the payment for drones. Now, that doesn't mean that Ukraine couldn't use a lot more drones than it's producing, but the big problem right now they've got is money. So they're trying to come up with the money, and I don't know whether, again, any of the foreign donors can help with that too. This is an interesting story. Okay, Russia's kidnapped another American citizen, but it might be a story where you shouldn't care. So a quick sip of water, and let's talk. So Robert Woodland Romanoff, an American citizen, was kidnapped by the Russians basically in the last couple of weeks. They did another one of their, your drug smuggling or whatever it is. The Russians like to claim that. Sometimes it might be true. Thank you, adventurers. But basically, the Russians like to kidnap Americans because they know in the end the American government will negotiate and basically give up spies, arms dealers, all sorts of horrible human beings in exchange for the innocent American citizens that Russia's kidnapped. Well, this guy's a little more different. Thank you, adventurers, for the TikTok gifts. Keep them coming, guys. Appreciate it. This guy is a joint American-Russian citizen. He was born in Russia. He was adopted by American parents and then decided to go move back to Russia. I mean, imagine, right? Imagine, right? You're in America and you think, I think life in Russia would be better. So he moves back to Russia. He's teaching I forgot, English teacher, working as an English teacher. Thank you, Chad. And around the beginning of the war, right? So 2022, invasion of Ukraine, September comes around, and he wrote, I guess, on public media, his opinion of the war. And he said he was basically did not support the war, okay? Did not support the war. And he has not received a draft letter as of September of 2022 from Russia. But listen to this. I am not in support of this war, but if my letter to arms comes, meaning if Russia drafts me, I will not turn away. I know this sounds like a stupid choice, but remember, America had done the same back during the Vietnam War. I have no idea what he even means. Like, how does America and Vietnam, thank you, Joe, have anything to do with whether he's dumb enough to get drafted by the Russians, right? I mean, like, what? I don't get it. But what you should know is this American citizen made clear that he's happy to go fight for Russia in Ukraine and kill as many Ukrainians as he can. I have zero sympathy for this guy. We should not be lifting a finger to get him out of Russia. But the other reason, thank you, Pam Pam, the other reason we shouldn't lift a finger, it's today, guys. There is zero reason. Actually, Kilo just said, win stupid prizes. That's exactly right. There is zero reason any American should be in Russia right now. The only reason you should be in Russia is if you work for the State Department, if you're CIA, right? If you're some American government official where you have no choice, then of course you should be in Russia. But you should be in Russia because the government said, we absolutely need you, it's worth the risk. And then the US government should help you if you get captured by the Russians, right? And they take you hostage. Somebody like this joker, who's simply a U.S. national with Russian citizenship as well, who thinks, I think things are better in Russia. And he stays in Russia knowing that the Russians are kidnapping American citizens. Thank you, Sean. And then basically gets kidnapped by the Russians. This guy, we shouldn't be lifting a finger for. And I'm going to make another point here. And I've said this before. It's controversial, although you guys haven't considered it too controversial, but I'm sure Twitter, the morass that is Twitter, wouldn't like it. But Evan Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter that the Russians just kidnapped, again, for no reason, he shouldn't have been in Russia at all. No paper. This was after they did their little, what's her name, Brittany Griner. Remember the American female basketball star that the Russians basically kidnapped? I mean, I still think they did trumped up drug charges against her and held her hostage to get a horrific arms dealer, murderer, international murderer released to get this woman free. After that happened, there shouldn't have been another American stepping foot in Russia. The Wall Street Journal was stupid enough, or hubristic enough, if that's a word, to send their reporter there, and the Russians kidnapped him. And now we're supposed to trade more murderers for the Wall Street Journal reporter. And I feel horrible for the guy, but I got to tell you, the Wall Street Journal should be putting up $1 billion or whatever it costs to free the guy. The United States government shouldn't be lifting a finger. And I hate to say it, guys, but there is an FAFO element to this. F around, find out element to this. And for the media, and I'm not a media critic. I'm actually quite supportive of the media. But for the Wall Street Journal to play games with it, and frankly, for this reporter to play games, by the way, he's an American who was born in Russia. Excuse me. His parents are from Russia, and I think he was born in Russia. For this guy to go back to Russia, knowing that they love to grab dual citizens, as they consider them dual citizens, just pisses me off. It really does. I just think it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. In any case, all right. 2 more quick stories, and then we're done. The municipality. Oh, this was a good story. The municipality of Modena in Italy, which many of you will know because of its balsamic vinegar from Modena. The municipality of Modena revoked permission for an event on the rebirth of Mariupol after Russia's brutal siege. So basically, they were going to hold an event. Some pro-Russian group in Italy was going to hold an event to celebrate the rebirth of Mariupol, Ukraine, the town that Russia has freed by invading Ukraine, right? It's reborn in a much better country. Well, a much better city now, right? I mean, it's not, but that's what they were saying. Mariupol is the city down here. Mariupol is the city that the Russians took 2 months to basically take. Remember the Ukrainians, a lot of the Azov battalion guys and women and some others held the town for like 2 months. 2,000 of them held off 14,000 Russians. I mean, huge victory for the Ukrainians. Even though they lost the town, huge victory in the sense of they really showed up the Russians, right? It was at the Azovstal steel plant. That's correct, Martin. And Mariupol is also the town where the Russians blew up the maternity ward of the hospital, where the Russians blew up the, theater, the drama theater that had the word children written on the side. So the Russian bombers would know that children were being housed inside to keep them safe. The Russians bombed it anyway, killed several hundred people. Mariupol is the town of a lot of massacres, a lot of horrific actions. Some people think that there could be as many as 100,000, deaths of Ukrainians, and we just don't know how many Ukrainians were killed in Mariupol. Horrific what the Russians did, and basically these jerks were going to hold a little festival of how wonderful it is that Mariupol's been freed by the Russians, and the Italians stepped in and canceled it, which was wonderful. Final story. So this is an interesting story because it's kind of a funny story, and it's also kind of a Russia story. The Russians have arrested, imprisoned, and drafted a rapper. And they drafted him as punishment. No, your father does I Am Romantic. You should ask him if you like it. Check it out. The rapper gets imprisoned and drafted because he went to a party that the Russian government didn't like. Okay, listen to this. Some celebrities and whatever hold a party around New Year's, and it's some like almost naked party or something, they called it, right? And you had to show up almost naked. Not naked, but kind of. Well, this guy, very good looking guy, actually. I mean, as far as like, he's not like one of those where you go, why is this person the one doing it? But he showed up wearing a sock. You can guess where the sock was. A single male sock he was wearing. And there are photos. I think he performed as well. Well, the Russian government got very upset because the Russian government is all about morality. Now, of course, the Russian government is not about morality at all. They're all about genocide. But the Russians like to play, Putin, his government likes to play this game of we are the most Christian of anybody out there. The Putin loves to talk about how Russia's the true Christian nation and Europe is decadent and America's decadent and America and Europe have the gays and the trans, but Russia doesn't because they're so religious. Well, in fact, Russians barely go to church at all. The Ukrainians go to church much more often than the Russians do, and they're of similar faiths, Orthodox. The Americans go to church so much more than the Russians do, it's not even funny. I mean, Americans, very religious, really. The Russians, not at all. Thank you, I'm nice. Not at all. Well, nonetheless, this is part of Putin's shtick to pretend that, they're so moral and the West is so decadent. So they clamp down on the party. They arrest people at the party. They arrest this guy, put him in jail, and then draft him. Now, again, the reason I bring this up, actually, let me read you the last little quote, too. This quote was from Vladimir Soloviev, who I've told you about before. He's one of the sort of top Russian TV guys, also has like a podcast kind of thing, a radio show. And listen to this quote from him. He's talking about the party. He says, "Those who attended the party are traitors who party while our guys on the front line are dying." That's how they're spinning this, right? Like it's a travesty to the state because some people held a half-naked party where people were, half naked at the party. Private party, mind you, right? So private party, so actually you shouldn't even be able to do anything in a free country about it. But also to draft, and this is the important part, to draft the guy as punishment. That shows you how crooked Russia is. It shows you the degree to which they're not a democracy. It shows you the degree to which Russia is so much different than our countries, okay? I mean, some of the people in developing countries like to play this game with Russia. And they do. South Africa does it. A lot of Brazil, the government there does it. A lot of them do this sort of, Orban does it too in Europe, right? Try to play this game of, oh, the Russians, they're so good, and the West, we're so bad and everything. The notion that your government doesn't like a party that you went to and as punishment they can draft you to a war, that's insane. I mean, say what you will about our countries. We can't do that in our countries. It is so illegal, it's not even funny. There is zero way that you would get drafted because the government didn't like you. Zero chance of it. It is the height of corruption. It is the height of corruption for Russia. In any case, all right, that's it for the news today, for the Ukraine news. Let's jump right into Q&A and everything else. Take your guys' questions, take your comments. Please do keep the gifts coming on TikTok and YouTube. Like I said, need your guys' gifts to pay the bills. This is how I've been able to do this for 2 years now. We're not at the anniversary yet. Next month is the anniversary. But please do try to subscribe as well if you can. We do take subscribers, monthly subscribers, which actually is a great way to support my work because if I build up enough monthly subscribers, I don't have to keep harassing you guys about gifts. Thank you, Red Watts, for the gifts. Thank you, Chazak. You can become a monthly subscriber on TikTok by going to my profile, clicking the live subscriptions link, and you can just join right there. It's like $6 a month or something. Thank you, Diane. You can do it on YouTube with the little $sign at the bottom of the screen that says, click it, and then you'll see something that says memberships, I believe. You can also do Ko-fi, which you guys have there. You guys can find Ko-fi via the link in my profile, the Linktree link. Click it, and Ko-fi comes up. Ko-fi's like Patreon, basically. Thank you, Bulford, Napoleon. Sorry, a couple quick thanks. Timothy, thank you guys for the gifts. Do I support Americans' right to own an AR-15? No, I don't. I think we're nuts in this country about guns. I'm fine with guns. I'm fine with people actually protecting themselves with guns, to be honest. I think, especially the way crime's been going, I'm much more sympathetic now. In D.C., crime is out of control. I'm actually sympathetic to that. But you don't need an AR-15. AR-15s, by the way, for anybody from the rest of the world, thank you, Elizabeth, they're the weapon of choice that mass shooters use in America when they just go on rampages and kill people. It's almost always an AR-15. It's, a big rifle. You don't want that to defend your house, right? You don't want some huge thing like this because you're going to end up shooting the gunman. Thank you, Diana. You're going to shoot the gunman. Thank you, Elizabeth, too, if I didn't thank you. You're going to shoot your kids. You're going to shoot your spouse. You're going to go through the wall and kill your neighbor. I mean, it's ridiculous. You want a small gun, really. Thank you, Hedge. You don't want some massive, thing. But it is the weapon of choice for the bad guys. So thank you, guys. Yes, I pulled this sweater. I've had this sweater forever, and I just pulled it out of the drawer. I was looking for something red to get a little more color. I'm usually wearing my black sweater. But in any case... what else, guys? What else? Nope, Jason, I'm still covering Israel, but there's really no news. I don't like covering stuff when there's no news. I mean, Israel's bombing. Israel's trying to move ahead. The Palestinians are dying. The Palestinians are starving. The Arab world isn't doing anything. People are trying to negotiate, but nothing's happening. Hezbollah is being stupid, and Iran is being dangerous, and the Houthis keep trying to go after ships. That's the Israel update. Thank you, Tom. I mean, there's just no updates. Anyway, so what else, guys? What's America's business in the Middle East other than oil? Oil's the big one. Also, it's a hotbed of terrorism, so there's kind of an interest there too. I mean, I got news for you guys. It's a problem, the terrorists from the Middle East. So, but no, the oil is hugely important. And oil is the lifeblood of the world. So, yeah, it matters. So, and Israel. I mean, the U.S. does have a bond with Israel. So there's also a feeling of a moral connection as well. As a moral meaning defending a friend kind of thing. So I didn't see that, Valerie. Valerie says Hamas, they're saying that Hamas has access to North Korean weapons. I've not seen that. Not seen that. And that's a good point. Valerie says, I'm confused why the ceasefire now people in, thank you, Nicola, for the gift, in Israel or Gaza, keep saying they want a ceasefire when Hamas continues to reject the ceasefires. They do continue to keep rejecting the ceasefires. Yes, they do. Oh, well. What else, guys? What else? Russian offensive petered out. Well, there isn't much of a Russian offensive, really. I mean, the Russians are, let me get this. You know, the Russians were pushing back against the Ukrainians. Thank you, Foodie. The Russians were pushing back here, and they were having some success around here at Donetsk, okay? They were having some success northwest of Avdiivka, southwest of Donetsk, which is Mariinka. Both areas the Russians advanced. Mariinka, they might even control now. We haven't been hearing too much about Bakhmut and up here. I would say this, at least it feels like it's petered out to some degree because we're not hearing much. Whereas here, we have definitely heard of some successes, maybe some successes here. Maybe even a little bit over here in Kherson. So I don't know that anybody feels the Russians have totally petered out. If anything, in the last month or so, the concern is that the Russians are advancing slowly, very slowly. But as I always say, you want your side to advance, not the other guy. And I always said when Ukraine was advancing slowly, it was still a good thing because they were advancing. Well, if Russia's advancing slowly, it's still a bad thing because they're still advancing, right? So it hasn't petered out. The thing to remember is Russia doesn't have the ability to do a big counteroffensive right now. They, sort of shot their everything last winter. And the Ukrainians have also destroyed a lot of Russian troops, a lot of Russian weapons. The thinking is that they don't have an ability to do a big counteroffensive for a year or two at this point. That doesn't mean they can't get a lot of new men and just throw a lot of men not willing to die. I guess the men don't have a choice in Russia. But the Russians do like to just throw thousands of men and get them all mowed down, hoping that eventually they advance, even though they kill all their own people. So it's not, so I would not say yes. I'm not necessarily looking at the news and saying, yay, Russia's not doing well. Not really. Let me see what else we got here. What else? More questions, guys? Richard, I think things are muddy right now. Richard says, am I the last man thinking Ukraine has a chance to win against Russia? I'm worried about Ukraine's chances against Russia, but I'm not convinced of Russia's chances against Ukraine. As I started the show, it's day 684. We are almost at the 2-year mark of a war that Russia was supposed to win in 3 to 10 days. Russia is in a quagmire. Ukraine is in a quagmire. Ukraine's in the quagmire because we're not supporting them the way we were supposed to. Ukraine's in a quagmire because we were afraid of Ukraine taking Crimea back in southern Ukraine, so we never gave them all the weapons they need. We never gave them the weapons in time. We delayed them, and then when we gave them the weapons, we gave them only a few. We gave them only a few tanks. We gave them only a few HIMARS. We gave them only a few Patriot missiles and Patriot missile batteries. We gave them only a few ATACMS. And God knows how many of the stupid F-16s are coming whenever they come. I guarantee you, it ain't going to be a lot of F-16s we're giving the Ukrainians. I don't think so. Let's see, but I don't think so. So that's the situation in Ukraine right now. I think it's a bit of a stalemate. The question is, over the next couple of years, right? And Vlad talked about this in our live this weekend, Vlad from Ukraine. The concern is over the next couple of years, Russia is slowly rebuilding its capacity. And what does Ukraine do? Ukraine's trying, but Ukraine needs more support from the West. And if Europe and America are cutting off their support, America especially cutting off their support, then what happens? Joshua says F-16s are scheduled for late 2024. Probably, yeah. I mean, the most recent story that gave any kind of a timeline was probably the end of last summer, maybe September, and Washington Post, and they said that the expectation was that American F-16s would not arrive in Ukraine until August of 2024, meaning this August, 6 months from now, which is terrible, absolutely terrible. So News on the Russian resistance? Not really. I mean, the only news there is on that is there keep being attacks in Russia that are suspicious. A young boy was just arrested, 16 years old. Maybe he's guilty, maybe he's not. This is Russia after all, so who knows? But he supposedly was the one that lit the Su-34 fighter on fire out in eastern Russia, 1,000 miles from the Ukrainian border. If the Ukrainians had a hand in this, it's very interesting that they were able to influence somebody 1,000 miles from the border, right? That's, what did we say, 1,400, 1,500 kilometers? I mean, that's a hell of a lot. Very, very surprising. You also hear more reports of, I think, trains blowing up and things like that. So, who knows? Who knows about the resistance? But I don't think the resistance is strong enough. You need a hell of a lot more. 1,600 kilometers? Okay, thanks, Callum. You need a hell of a lot more taking place inside Russia, U.S. troops, U.S. troops are not going to Ukraine unless Russia does something insane like dropping a nuke or something else. A biological weapon, chemical weapon. Then you might see U.S. troops. Maybe, right? But it would have to be something huge to get the U.S. and NATO to enter the war to that degree. Because let's face it, we're still playing games. Germany still won't give Ukraine the cruise missiles it needs. America still won't give Ukraine the long-range ATACMS missiles that it needs. If we're not willing to do that because we're afraid, and we're afraid of angering Putin. There's no other reason. Do you really think we're going to send troops, right? We're not even willing to send the weapons Ukraine needs. We're not going to send troops. I just think it's just not a chance of it happening. Oops, gonna put some ointment on my lips as we're talking here. Well, that's interesting. Valerie says, my grandmother made my grandfather change our last name to something more American when they immigrated to keep us safe. It's not easy for foreigners here. Yeah, and certainly depending where you live, too. Yeah. Thank you, Mighty Hood. What else? The Polish and Ukrainian border, confuses me a little bit. There have been a couple different issues. The Polish truckers, and actually truckers for some other European countries, have been blockading the border, stopping Ukrainian trucks from coming across, and I think stopping shipments from Poland coming across because they don't like that they believe the Ukrainian farm, like food and grain and stuff especially, has been competing with their own products. Sort of unfairly, they say, because basically the countries opened up completely to Ukraine to try to help Ukraine when Russia attacked. And by letting all the goods come in, all of a sudden those goods started competing with their stuff. The other thing was the Poles were complaining, I believe, maybe some of the others as well, that the Ukrainians, thank you, Super Hornet, that Ukrainian truckers were not having to go through the same process to get trucking permits, and they were getting too many of them. So again, they were competing too much with Polish truckers. Some recent agreement or something was reached or is being reached with the Poles. So it looks like hopefully that's getting, Yael must be being funny, I think, on TikTok. What's my opinion of the UN? You're asking that. That's like, Tulekivi, I think, is the one who keeps asking that. Because they knows I worked at the UN and I hate the UN. It's a horrible place. So yes, the UN is corrupt as hell. Literally corrupt. I mean, money corrupt, morally corrupt, ethically corrupt. And it's a bunch of spoiled rich people from around the world. The worst of humanity around the world, the most spoiled, obnoxious people ever, are the ones who go work at the UN. So that's my quick opinion of the UN. So, okay, yeah, Kelly says the Polish prime minister announced they made a deal with the farmers and that the blockade is being lifted. Okay, that's what I thought. I just read something was agreed to. So yeah. What happened in New York? I don't know. Did something happen in New York? What happened there? I don't know. Did something happen? I don't know, Aaron. How can Russia save face, claim victory, and end the war? Well, no. Russia has lots of ways of saving face. I mean, guys, in 2014, Russia invaded and stole this part of Ukraine, okay? In the last 2 years, when they invaded again, they stole all of this. Currently, Russia controls all of this and has annexed it, claiming this is now Russia. Russia has ample room to brag to people back home. I mean, they've probably lost 300,000 men that are, dead, which is really bad. Really horrific. But Russia being Russia, they don't care. Putin has the ability to tell his people, yes, it was long and hard, but look at what I got you. I got all of this land for Russia. That's a big deal. I think Putin absolutely could claim victory in that regard if he were just to call it quits. Now, the problem is, how do you call it quits? Because the Ukrainians are going to say, we're not giving up that land. You know, you claim you're no longer fighting. We're going to bomb you anyway. So, you know, there's that. Why don't the Republicans want to support funding for Ukraine? Okay, couple different things. 3 different things, at least, I think. One, the Republican Party in the U.S. House of, well, the Republican Party overall, and especially in the House of Representatives, right, the one body of Congress that's causing problems with Ukraine funding, is controlled by MAGA. It's controlled by Trump. Trump hates Ukraine. Trump loves Russia, loves Putin. So Trump doesn't want America to fund Ukraine. He doesn't want America to hurt Putin. He wants to help Putin. Whatever reason, we don't know, but there's a weird thing with Trump and Putin. It's been proven time and again. You know, he loves to say, oh, Russia, Russia, Russia. Guys, just go back and look at the last 4 years. Look at the Helsinki summit Trump had with Putin. It was one of the most horrific, go Google the story and look at the video. One of the most horrific appearances of a U.S. president ever, siding with a Russian dictator. He literally denied that Putin tried to interfere in the election. He said, I believe him. Why would I believe our own security services over Putin? I mean, it was a disgusting display, okay? So one, Trump sides with Russia, okay? So why would somebody go and translate that, if you would, by the way, on YouTube? Just go and grab that and translate it and check it out. And if it's bad, just get rid of the guy. So Trump wants Russia to win. Trump hates Ukraine. So because Trump wants it, the Republicans in Congress, at least in the House, since they're Trumpers, same thing. They want to kill aid to Ukraine because Trump wants to kill aid to Ukraine. Second issue, a lot of, I would say all Republicans want to use the issue to force Biden to do more at the border. Let me step back a little and say I might have just misphrased that. They are claiming that they are not going to fund Ukraine until Biden does more to shore up the border with Mexico. Now, does that mean that if Biden does more to shore up the border, that the Republicans will support aid to Ukraine? No, it does not. Because one top Republican already came out and said, hang on a second there. One Republican already came out and said that he doesn't see any reason to even consider Biden's proposals on Mexico and the border because he doesn't want Biden to do well before the election. So that takes us to the third reason. And this is not just a Republican problem. Democrats do the same thing. We are less than a year to the presidential election. Republicans do not want to do anything to give Biden any victories because that helps Biden going into the election. Oh, look how successful Biden is, right? Oh, Biden solved the border problem or whatever it is, right? Okay, that's a good thing, Valerie, then. That's good. He's a good guy. Right. Republicans don't want that. And by the way, Democrats wouldn't be thrilled either if a Republican president were up for re-election in 10 months. Thank you for the gift there, Wendy. Democrats wouldn't be thrilled either at giving him any victories. So Republicans are holding up Ukraine because, A, Trump hates Ukraine. Trump's like Putin. Republicans controlled by Trump, they oppose Ukraine. B, Republicans want to use it as leverage to get more done at the border with Mexico. But C, that may not be the real reason. They may be holding it up and claiming the border because they can say, well, the Democrats refuse to agree to anything good, so it's their fault Ukraine is screwed. It's their fault the border isn't being defended, and Biden has two big disasters on his hand, one Ukraine and one the border going into the election. And people say, look how bad things are because Biden couldn't manage it. So that is why Republicans are holding up aid. It's a combination of maybe some, not legitimate, maybe they're holding it hostage, but also maybe they're doing it just to hurt Biden, and they're doing it because Trump said so. And sadly, that's enough of a reason for many Republicans nowadays. So it's very bad. Very bad. And the folks who support Ukraine don't have enough backbone in the Republican Party, or even the Democratic Party, really. As I said, Biden doesn't. When's the last time you heard Biden talking about Ukraine, right? Aid to Ukraine. A week or two ago? I mean, right? Biden doesn't talk about it. So, you know, Republicans don't either. It is malpractice what we've done. Just horrific. Beep, 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 beep. Oops. What we got here? Both parties have failed on the border. I don't disagree. I mean, the thing is, look, I've talked about this before with you guys. We have a ridiculous number of people try to cross our border. 3 million every year try to cross the border. I don't have the figures of how many make it, but there's a kind of a horrific number. I mean, the number, which I think is BS, of illegal immigrants. I mean, again, I'm not going to call them undocumented because I've told you this before. The phrase undocumented is very cute, and it's done by partisans, and they succeeded in doing it because they're trying to change people's mindsets. These are not undocumented people. Undocumented people are immigrants, are actual immigrants who lost their documents. That would be an undocumented immigrant. When you cross the border illegally, you're not an immigrant. And you're not undocumented. You came here illegally. I mean, you're a criminal, really. I'm sorry, but it drives me nuts when we play these games because we're, especially on the left, thank you, Avengers, we're supposed to be like, oh, it's okay to come here illegally. It's not okay to come here illegally. It's really not. But once you're here, we've got to figure out what to do with you because we don't want to have a permanent underclass of Latinos. That's stupid. But 20 years, I mentioned this before with you guys, 25 years ago, I was doing work on this issue, civil rights issues overall. And I had a meeting with one of the top 2 Latino human rights, civil rights groups here in the U.S., based in Washington, D.C. And I asked the woman I was talking to how many people were here illegally from Latin America. And she said, this is now like 1998 or so. She said somewhere between 16 million 16 and 60 million 60. And I said, wait a minute. You're telling me the number of people here illegally crossing the border that are permanently here now is somewhere between 16 and 60 million? And we don't know the number? And she said, that's exactly right. Well, now we claim, oh, it's 11 million. It's 11 million. And I cry BS. That is yet another thing that I think is, thank you, Adventures, is, you know, kind of the PC crowd went around, pulled up a number, and came up with a lower number to make it sound good. If we didn't know how many there were 30 years ago, we don't know how many there are today. And there's going to be more today than there were back then. It's ridiculous. Our border is porous. It's ridiculous. And I don't care who's coming across because you know what? You feel sorry for the Latino migrant. I feel sorry for my friends who couldn't get visas. I feel sorry for my friend who was a doctor from Colombia who couldn't get a visa and was working here doing cancer research at the National Institutes of Health and had to go back home. He didn't stay illegally. He would have been the best person for this country to welcome, right? He was a freaking MD doing cancer research, and we sent the guy home. And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in lots of Africa. Why don't we let the Africans in? We only let the Latinos. I mean, we're playing a favoritism game with Latinos. We are, and Democrats are doing it. But Republicans are playing a racism game, and that's the other problem. That there is a legitimate problem at the border. But too many Republicans are playing it up because they just want to bash Latinos and they just want to use it as a political issue, right? And that pisses me off too. So both parties, and Trump, what did Trump do? What did Trump do, guys? Trump didn't do anything to solve the problem, right? I mean, he built the wall. He didn't build the wall. Go Google it. He built like 50 miles of wall. That was it. He repaired a lot of wall, but he said he was going to build an entirely new wall. He didn't. He repaired 50 miles. He repaired several hundred miles that he repaired, but he only built 50 miles of wall. Neither sides. And Mexico's going to pay for it. Exactly, Solomon. Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Elena says, it took my Colombian family 16 years to get their visa legally. Well, that's the thing. I really do. Like, you know what the thing too is, and I maybe because I'm a lawyer, maybe I don't know what, but a lot of people on the left especially are sympathetic to this whole economic refugee thing. There's no such thing as an economic refugee in refugee law. It doesn't exist. You are political refugees, yes. You are allowed to come in if you can prove, and I forget the exact language, but a well-founded fear of persecution or something like that is the language. And you have to prove it to the judge. If the judge believes you, then you get asylum, right? You jump the line, so to speak. If literally you're a politically persecuted in fear of your life, you do not get to jump the line and come into the country because you come from somewhere poor. Because most of the world would want to come in that case. That is not the way it works. And I think far too many people, whatever, they think we should because it's too bad that they're poor. And, you know, I feel bad for them, but you don't open up the borders. So anyway, it pisses me off. And frankly, it's not fair to everybody else anyway. Thank you, Soner. I mean, like I said, why are we letting in Latinos? Africans don't deserve to come in too? I mean, right? Asians don't deserve to come in. It's only Latinos. Like, I just think it's, you know. Yeah, but your country came here legally because you were poor, and that was at a time when it was legal. You are allowed to come into the country legally for any reason, but you aren't allowed to come here illegally. So, all right, what else we got, guys? Oh, that's interesting. Finnish member of parliament has initiated a petition to revoke Hungary's voting rights in the European Council. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. Yep, your friend from India is here on a work visa, 10 years and waiting. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, what else we got, guys? What else we got here? Oh, the wife thing is terrible. My nephew's going through that now, too. Jeff is saying it took 2 years for his wife to come legally, and it was expensive. Yeah, my nephew's dealing with that. He got married. His wife is from Singapore, and basically they've got to move to Asia for 18 to 24 months because she can't come in. It is a very long process because basically they've got to go through the process to prove that the marriage is legitimate. Thank you, Mikey. Right? That he isn't just helping some stranger get citizenship. But the process is so long and they're so backlogged that they have to move out of the country for 18 to 24 months. I mean, it's crazy, you know? So, you know. Well, Dom, what you are raising is political asylum. That's allowed. We just talked about that. Dom says, what would I do if my family was threatened? The exact same thing. Correct. And under U.S. law, it would be allowed because it would be political asylum. You're allowed political asylum if you're in fear of your life for legitimate reasons. You're not allowed to come here because you don't have money and you think you could make more in America. That's not legal. So, yeah, I would do the same thing, and I would do it legally as all the other political asylum people do legally, which I support. You are correct. It's mostly Latinos. It is Chinese too, though. Interesting report on CNN yesterday. The Chinese have a whole racket for bringing people to the U.S. and they charge these guys somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000, depending on how deluxe it is. They bring them to South America and then slowly bring them up through all the Latin American countries until they get to the Mexican border, and then get the Mexican border and then California, and get the Chinese into the U.S. It was crazy. And I was like, Chinese? How the hell do you even get out of China? You know, absolutely crazy. But it's a whole racket to get people basically illegally into the U.S. Ridiculous. Russia's new rail bridge. I thought something got attacked, but I didn't see what in Russia. Was there a new rail bridge that got attacked? Is somebody setting up World War III? I don't know. Where? I don't see World War III anywhere. Opinions on the CIA getting too powerful? The CIA isn't powerful enough. How is the CIA powerful? And how are they more powerful than they were? That would be my question for you. And if you can make a good argument, maybe, but I've not seen any argument that the CIA is more powerful at all right now. What's happening in the Baltics? I don't know. I mean, nothing. What? World War III? No. Why would there be World War III? World War III, thank you, Jen, is the whole world going to war. Why is Russia and America aren't going to war? We both got nukes. China's got nukes too, which would kind of hopefully stop us all from going to war. There's certainly a chance of a war between the U.S. and China over Taiwan if China's dumb enough to invade Taiwan. But is the U.S. and China going to war, a world war? I don't think so. Unless Russia gets involved, then like if Russia gets involved and declares war on the U.S., then all bets are off. But that's all based on China invading Taiwan, you know, and that only has to do with China and Taiwan at this point. Ukraine has nothing to do with it. Israel has nothing to do with it. China's deciding whether it wants to invade Taiwan on, you know, whether it thinks it can pull it off. You know, but no, I see nothing. Iran, what about them? I mean, only because I'm saying like, what, you got to give me more. What about Iran? Probably nice people, nasty country. I mean, what, you know, what about them? There's really no news, no additional news. Yeah, Biden proposed $14 billion for border security, Courtney says, and Speaker of the House, Republican Mike Johnson, said that won't help anything. The problem right now is it's not clear if the Republicans want anything. The Republicans don't want to help Biden in an election year. A bipartisan deal to fix the border helps Biden and the Republicans, but it really helps Biden because it shows President Biden was able to negotiate with a Republican House and get a deal on the border. It shows he's bipartisan. It shows he can get things done. That's not the message you want if you're a Republican going into the election. You don't want the message to be President Biden can get things done with Republicans, right? You want the message to be he's got to go. So unfortunately, that's the way politics, I will say this. Democrats would not be thrilled in giving a Republican president a victory in an election year. And Republicans are certainly not thrilled about it either. I just what I just said, Cerebral. That's what I just said. Neither party would want to give the other a victory in an election year. So I got you. See? Accuse me. Imply that I'm not fair. Congress can't get anything done with Republicans in the majority. I mean, they can. It depends who. The other problem is, thank you, Jen. Somebody mentioned on YouTube earlier, Republicans, thank you, Trilitic. Republicans only have a 2-member majority in the House now, which is crazy. Or, well, in a couple days, it'll be 2-member majority, and that's it. They have a very hard time getting anything done. So, I have not stopped posting about Ukraine. No, I've got posts up. I think I put some stuff about Russia today. Sasha's good. She's asleep underneath in her little cat bed under my table. I always have the dog bed, or it's a cat bed, underneath my desk when I work because Sasha likes to kind of be close. So, thanks. No, that's okay, Cerebral. I'm giving you a hard time. What else? Beep, 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 beep. The auctions. I know I'm going to set up the auctions probably on Wednesday. Oh, thank you, Booty. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've got to see. Actually, I've got to see what I've got for the auction items for Ukraine. We do auctions to benefit Ukraine, and then half of it benefits me. I've got to go and see because now that I'm back in DC, I can sort of go through my box and see what else I've got. So, but I've still got. Actually, I did get a new piece. What's the new? I actually have to check and double. Hold on, thank you, Jeremy. I've got to double check what the new piece even is. I'm forgetting the new piece that I got from Ukraine. I think it's very cool. Again, I only grab stuff. I basically get cool stuff from Ukraine and then auction it off on my Discord community. And I use the auction proceeds. Half of the money goes back to Ukraine for aid, and half of the money goes to support me since I do this full time, pay my bills and stuff. And let me just look here really quick. Where's my piece I just bought? That's what I thought. Delivered. Shit. See, something arrived when I was gone, and now we don't know where the hell it is. That's bad. That's bad. Shit. That's bad. Damn it. Or someone stole it, which would really be bad. Hang on. I'm a little pissed about this. Where is this thing? Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. Oh, here it is. Here it is. That's what I thought. It's a piece of a T-72 tank, a Russian T-72. And let me look again really close. I believe it's the part that is, hang on. I think this is from the periscope on the tank. I'm going to show you. I'm 99% sure it is. Hold on a second. It's very cool. Hold on. Found it. Oh, I was so worried. I had two different things. I had something else coming that got lost. I thought it got lost because I didn't have it, and I was getting really pissed off right here because I was in Chicago and afraid that stuff was getting thrown away. So this I am 99% sure this is the top of like a periscope on a Russian T-72 tank. See the mirror? It's showing you my keyboard. I just think it's a neat piece, obviously, and it's rather heavy, which is interesting. But what's cool about it is I like the mirror, and it's flat so that it actually like can sit on a table, and it looks like kind of a cool piece, which is kind of neat. Oops, sorry. The mirror is from the bottom, so it's like the top of a tank periscope, apparently. I'm 99% sure. Somebody help me if it's not, but I'm 99% sure that's what it is. T-72 Russian tank. A vision prism, Jens says, but am I correct that it's like the top part looking out of the tank? I'm hoping I'm correct about this. Am I correct? That's what it is? Help me out, guys. It is. That's what I thought. I think it's very cool. I think it's very cool. Very heavy. I mean, it's a very heavy piece, actually. But as I said, I just think it's kind of neat. And it's also kind of neat anyway, because like I said, it can sit like on a desk and be kind of a cool piece in and of itself. And the mirror, actually, the mirror is kind of fun because you could always put something underneath it. I'm trying to think like, oh, you could put anything underneath it. You know, I'm trying to look like what I've got here. I don't have anything interesting to put underneath, but you know what I mean? My hand. But you know what I mean? Now, the other thing, let me open this while I'm talking to you. The other thing, oh, I'm so glad this is here. I was very worried that this got lost. Hang on. We're switching to the part of the show where we just hang out and talk here. I'm actually getting warm in my sweater. I'm taking the sweater off. Oof. Getting a little warm. Oh, here are my glasses. Okay. Hang on here. Well, no, you're right. You could put a business card. You could put a lot of stuff. Okay, that's good to hear, Keps. I mean, it's bad when I'm traveling. I don't know why the hell it's being so bad when I travel, but it's good that the YouTube audio is being better. All right, hang on. Oh, here we go. So this is nice because this is, I was able to get my hands on another piece. I will show you. Zoom. 1 second here. Oops. All right. I will, 1 second. Oops, 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 oops. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Things sent from Ukraine. Oops, hang on, did I drop the mic? I did drop the mic, you're right. Oops, it's on my sweater, you're right. Up. Here we go. There we go, the microphone's back. All right, so this is, actually this is, see if you can identify it. What is this, folks? And you can look at the back, which is really cool because the back includes some Russian writing. That's a B in Russian, the B. That first letter, that letter here, the letter here is a B in Russian, which is neat too. It is a Shahed drone wing. It's part of the Shahed drone wing. And you can see this is the part where it bends down a little bit. It's starting to curve. I had a really huge one that I auctioned off at Christmas. My friend Marion got it for her son for a Christmas gift. He's a college student here in D.C., and that was a huge one. That was really cool. This is still pretty cool, though. But it's a piece of a Shahed drone. Yeah. And actually, if you can look, you can see the cool little mesh. Actually, there's the little mesh there, too. They have like a metal mesh that adds strength and makes it very light. But this one's neat, as I said, because it's got the writing, which is kind of cool on the back, too, including the Russian B, B94, B94. And even the writing, like this is a 1. Where my finger is looking down, that's a 1. You can see because it's the European writing style. In Europe, that's how you write a 1. So very cool. So that arrived, I'm very happy to say. So I'll be auctioning that off. I may be waiting a few weeks, though, because the auctions are only sort of getting slowly going again. Things slowed down a lot. Pizza box card, exactly. The auctions were going kind of slowly during, right after, sort of Christmas was okay, and then it slowed down. So I'm going to wait till it picks up before I put something like that out there. Oop. That is correct. Info Privid knew exactly. He said it's from a Shahed, or Shahed. I guess, do we say Shahed? Shahed, yes. I say Shahed drone. Anyway. Oh, that's interesting. You know, TikTok also plays. Sorry, people were saying they're not seeing my TikTok posts on Ukraine. TikTok also plays games with what it shows and what it doesn't. You know, yeah, привіт, just cat, bro. That's funny, bro. Making jet-powered shaheeds. That's scary. That's scary. Iran making jet-powered shaheeds. Are you optimistic about Ukraine holding out this year? Maybe this year, but I'm worried about the next 2 years. You know, I am not Ukrainian. I am Greek American, but I care about Ukraine, and I have long been someone who believes in standing up to the Russians. I grew up during the Cold War, and I know who the Russians are, and I believe in standing up to them. So that's the other reason. Oh, thank you, Info. Appreciate it. What time is it here? It is 7 o'clock, 7:15 Eastern Time, U.S. The time change, it's an hour. The time is an hour different here in Washington, but I'm starting at the same time. So I started at 5 o'clock Chicago time, and now I'm starting at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, which is the same time. So this is the same time we were doing last week. Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Glad you like the sweater. Anything else, guys? We can quit soon. It's already quarter after. You've heard nothing new on Ukraine? I don't know that there is much new. I mean, you know, the Russians are advancing, but very slowly. The Ukrainians continue to do some good attacks. They took out some Russian anti-aircraft stuff. They've been doing attacks within Russia, you know. So the Ukrainians are doing some nice attacks, but I don't know what's going to shake things up at this point. And the really scary part is the longer this drags out, where both sides are kind of sitting there stationary, the more the Russians are digging in, which makes it even harder to take them out. So I worry about where this is going right now. And if we cut them off, forget it. They're dead. In a year or two, Ukraine's in major trouble if the U.S. cuts them off. And Russia wins. And then we got other problems. Like Putin wins this war. A, if Putin wins and keeps the territory he's got. B, if Putin takes all of Ukraine or a lot of it, we're looking potentially at a future war in Europe with Russia. I mean, like a big war in Europe. So that's bad. You're worried about World War III? You should be worried about Russia winning, basically. Are there American mercenaries in Ukraine? I don't think mercenaries. There are certainly Americans who have volunteered. I don't think mercenaries. I don't think so. First of all, it depends what you call mercenaries, I guess, right? I mean, I think the volunteers might be getting are the volunteers getting the basic Ukrainian soldier pay, maybe, right? Does that make them a mercenary? If they are, does that make them a mercenary, right? But not like the Russian mercenaries. No, there isn't like a private American company that we know of, you know, being sent there like the Russians are doing with whatchamacallit, you know what I mean? Wagner Group, right? Defense contractors, but I don't think we have defense contractors in Ukraine. Not really, right? I mean, we don't have much of anybody there. I mean, we've got some people helping liaise with the U.S. government, you know, with the Pentagon, with the CIA, stuff like that, but I don't think you've got a ton of Americans there, or Europeans overall, really. You know, Wagner, it's not clearly focusing more on Africa. At the same time, I think Putin's trying to fade them out. Yep. Magical? What? Show me what? Oh, I see. If you Google MK4 Periscope 1930 and select images, you'll see a picture of your item. Oh, that's interesting. I'll pull it up. MK4 Periscope 1930. Hang on a sec. I'm going to write this down so I also don't forget. MK4 Periscope 1930. Oops. Hang on. Oop. Or did I wait? MK4 Periscope 1930 images. Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what it is. You know what's really sad about this? Vlad got me one of these guys. This device, I'm going to take a picture of it. This device is, now I don't know whether they're still using them. I think they are. It's a tank periscope. And hey, I'm going to show you. I took a picture of it so I can show you guys. Well-traveled, originally designed by a Polish engineer in the 1930s. It was used on Polish, British, American, and Soviet tanks for decades. This example was built by the Soviets and fitted into a T-54 in 1973. Okay, so check this out. So that's what it is. It's a tank periscope. It's the very top part is the piece that I've got that I'm going to be auctioning off. I'll show you guys next. All right, let me go and hold on. I want to make sure I can see the screen so I can show you. Oop. Oh, hold on. There we go. Lower this a little more. Okay, now you can see. It's a tank periscope. The top part is the part I'm auctioning off. Vlad in Ukraine got me one of these. He got one and he sent it, the whole periscope, and the idiot Ukrainian troops confiscated it at the border. And basically, there was a whole thing where they were confiscating a bunch of stuff, and Vlad thinks they were basically stealing it because they took stuff like there was a beautiful old like Russian artillery shell, but empty, of course, that was painted for Easter, and it said Happy Easter on it. This one was not for me. This was somebody else's. They took it. He took his shell. Ukrainian customs and the military took the shell painted for Easter. And he's like, and it was Easter that they took it. It was the night before Easter. They took the shell. I had a packet of Russian meals ready to eat. You know, the Russian military meals. They took them. They took a bunch of stuff that there was no reason. Vlad sent me stamps. At the beginning of the war, Vlad bought me Ukrainian commemorative stamps, sent them to me, and Ukrainian customs took the stamps out of the envelope and said it was a violation of military rules. They were literally commemorative stamps that you can buy, like you can order them from Ukraine and have them shipped to you. Vlad ordered them and shipped them to me himself, and they took them. So there's unfortunately a lot of theft going on too, and they took the periscope, and it was really obnoxious. So that I must admit that periscope I probably would have kept. I don't think I would have. I would have paid and kept that. I would have given Vlad a couple $100 and said, "I'm keeping it." But nonetheless, it was very cool. But we still have the top part, like I said, of the new one that I will be auctioning off. This is the top of the periscope, T-72 Russian tank. It's very cool, like I said, and it's metal, very hard metal, because it's the outside of the tank, with glass inside. Oops, that's funny, because you can see the. Like, I gotta find what I can put under here. Like I said, I think like not a business card. It's got to be something cooler, like maybe one of my Ukrainian, like a Ukrainian military sticker or something, a patch or something. But it would be kind of cool. Actually, hold on. I'm going to grab one and show you. Now, a photo of the tank would be funny. Hold on. Stay there, Sasha. You're fine. Stay there. Oops. And yes, I would totally ship to the UK. Basically, I'm going to put it up for auction eventually. It's not going up yet over on our Discord community, but because it's not any kind of, it's not a weapon or anything, I have no problem putting it up for auction. You'll pay shipping, but I'll ship it anywhere in the world. You just pay shipping, Now, actually, I'll show you. Like, for example, I've got the military patch, and if this were underneath, right? Hold on. Do you see? Like, if this were underneath, you'd see the patch, which would be kind of cool, right? So there's actually lots of cool stuff you could put with this to display it kind of cool, I don't think I've got any. Well, I don't think I've got any others. Well, I've got another. I'm trying to look here at my Ukrainian. Oh, actually, I found a better one. Yeah, here. Actually, I just bought. My friend Garrett wrote this like huge new book about UFOs. I'm doing this for free. Garrett's a friend. He didn't pay me, but it's a new book about UFOs. Garrett's very good. Very good reporter, very good writer, very independent, and sort of delved into all the stuff on UFOs to see is there anything there. But so I just bought Garrett's book. Or actually, I think someone got it for me as a gift, and Amazon didn't show me who got it for me, which they do that sometimes. When people buy you gifts off a gift list, they don't always show you, and I think someone got it for me as a gift. So thank you, whoever, but I don't think... So, okay, here you go. This is the bigger patch. Now, that's cool. That's cool. See? That's neat with the big patch. Is that not cool? So there's lots. I mean, honestly, you could print something like this off on paper if you wanted to off the web. But that's a neat little, and it's the kind of thing you can change. You can change all the time. Hold on, I'm going to stop this after this. But I'm kind of enjoying. The more I'm enjoying this, the more it's making me want to keep it. But I'm not going to keep it. Here's one. Here's another one. Oops, upside down. Funny. I'm looking at the glass. This is the top of a Russian tank periscope that I've got that I'm going to be auctioning off. Okay, here we go. Or the Ukrainian trident on a patch. This is a brown one. It's not the, I am liking this. It's very cool. Like, this isn't the blue and yellow, but there's a blue and yellow patch we've got too. Anyway, you get the idea. This is a good idea, actually. You know what I think I do? When I finally auction it, I'll maybe put a number of patches up for auction too. That would look good with it. And, well, we'll see if people are able to bid or not. You know, you got to get lucky enough to get both. Oh, I'm liking that a lot now. That's very cool. Yay. Making me feel good now. Anyway, I like this stuff. Like I said, oh, thank you, Flower Lady. I enjoy the Ukraine stuff. I think it's important because, like I said, half the money goes to Ukraine and half of it supports me. But also, it's fun. I know I'm Ukrainian QVC. I just think this stuff is fun. I do. I find it interesting and fascinating and, you know, defense and war stuff. But yeah, it's a neat. It ends up. I'm glad I got it because it's a neat piece, and I'm glad, like I said, that I've got the drone part because I was worried that I lost it when it got shipped here, and we've got it. And this is real, and I know it's real. I did lots of research on these pieces, and this is exactly what they look like. So, piece of a Shahed drone from Ukraine. But like I said, a couple of weeks. I'm going to wait a little bit before I put this stuff up because I want to get sort of the auctions have been going slow over the holidays and stuff like that. You can't do a lottery, Mark. I wanted to do lotteries and stuff, but lotteries are highly regulated in the U.S. Like four states, I think, ban them or something, like raffles and lotteries. The other ones, highly regulated. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. So I would love to, but it's too dangerous. You know what I mean? I just kind of, thank you, Annie, for the gift. I just don't know how to do it legally, and I'd rather not do it illegally. You know what I mean? Because who knows, right? Yeah, I probably wouldn't get into trouble, but I'd rather keep doing things legally to be safe, you know? Yeah, unlicensed gambling, exactly. I mean, who knows? Thank you, Louie. Who knows what it would be perceived as, you know? But so I just do the auctions, but I admit, like, the raffle would be nice, but what do you do? Are you an actor? I would have loved to have acted. No. I mean, I did, like, in high school. That was about it. But other than that, no. Wear a mask, exactly. You don't know who I am. Any case, but yeah, I've got to look for. Actually, I did get more. You know what? I got more. Oh, hang on, I'll show you too. I did get a few more of these. Hold on, which were very popular auction items. Hello, dog. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oops. And I did get a few more of these from Ukraine. These are the really cool shells, and I've got to double check what these were from. I'm already forgetting again what these were from, but we know because we've got the info on it. But they're shells from Bakhmut, I believe, that Russian shells that the Ukrainians took and turned into art. And it's the Ukrainian, it's an angel on the back, and the front is the Ukrainian trident. And they're really cool because, of course, they stand up, of course, because they're flat, right? Oops, as I knock it down. And I think somebody had suggested a while ago they'd make a really cool candle holder because it's all metal, right? So it's safe, but very pretty. Like I said, it's an angel. It's an angel with the Ukrainian trident. But these have been really good auctioning off. People have loved these. So I went and ordered a few more from Ukraine. So we're going to be auctioning those off soon as well. And as I said, very, very cool, very popular. So that'll be fun. But as I said, I like auction. I like the Ukrainian stuff. I think it's fun. And again, it's nice to help Ukraine if we can. Anyway, couple last minute things, guys, and then we'll go. Have you heard anything about Biden, Senate, or Congress stopping funds for Ukraine or not helping? I mean, they're not helping. The question is whether some kind of a deal can be worked out, but I'm worried. Mark is saying, I've not heard a bad word from a Brit since the Ukrainian war. I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean by that? A bad word about what? What do you mean? And if you want to hear bad words from Brits, talk to a Scotsman. Sasha, you got to wait. Sasha wants more water. Oh, towards Ukrainians. Interesting. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah. Oh, well, you guys, I mean, the Brits have been, I'm assuming you, I'm forgetting where you are, Mark. The Brits have been so much better than the Americans, obviously. You guys were pushing us harder. I mean, the Americans have done a lot, but the Brits wanted to, like, invade Russia practically. You know? No, I laugh when I look at those Scottish videos on YouTube, and it's just like, I mean, the swearing, but also not even able to understand half the swearing. You know what I mean? Oh, you're in Scotland, but English? Okay. But not even able to understand it. Oh, yeah, let's finish with the defense secretary thing, and then we'll go, guys, because it's been an hour and a half. So, really weird story. The U.S. defense secretary had prostate cancer surgery and went and got the surgery and then had complications, an infection or something. Didn't tell anybody, didn't tell the president, didn't tell, I think, his senior staff, didn't sort of step down from his position temporarily, so he was still the defense secretary, while he's in the hospital and while he's in apparently very serious condition. And the president didn't even know until like 4 days later. Insane stuff. And people are pissed. It's become a big story. Pentagon was trying to explain it today. It's very weird. It's a very weird story. Yeah, he got an infection. It's very weird. It's very, I mean, the thing is, if you're going for any procedure and you're the Secretary of Defense, it's questionable whether you tell the media, but maybe you do, but you certainly tell the president. I mean, you're going for a procedure. You just do. And he was out of work for 4 days and then gets the infection. So he was very sick. And by the way, it goes to show why you should at least tell the president, because he got very sick. Like a procedure, you could still die and you could still get an infection and die, you know? Anyway, people were very pissed at him for not sort of going public. For me, I'm 50-50 on going public. I think at the very least you tell the president, and, you know, possibly you have somebody take over for a couple days or whatever, you know, a deputy or something like that, you know. His temporary replacement, she still stayed on vacation while he was out of action off duty, Mike says. Yeah, see, it's on so many levels. He handled this very badly on so many levels. We'll see what happens, but it's not great, you know. The Chinese using water instead of fuel for their missiles. I'm not sure what you mean. What do you mean, best worst? What did they actually do? Oh, I didn't know you were here. I could have asked you about the tank part. New piece. Were you here earlier? It's the top of the periscope for the T-72 from Ukraine that we're going to be auctioning at some point. But what happened with the Chinese and the fuel? Yeah, I mean, Blue Sky is saying I've had sepsis, which is like when the infection kind of gets into your body. I mean, actually, sepsis, I forget if sepsis has to be blood. Does sepsis have to be blood that the infection goes to? I think so, but it's very bad. It's one of those really bad complications. Blood, okay, yes, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's very bad. Oh, my schedule hasn't changed, JD. It's the same schedule. Yeah, this is the same schedule. It didn't change. It's always been 6 o'clock Washington, D.C. time. Mind you, in November, we changed the time and all of that, but we should be in sync with you guys again. But it's Monday to Friday. Some days I'm off, but Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Washington, D.C., 6 o'clock New York City time. It's always that. Even when I was in Chicago, I was doing it 6 o'clock New York City time. So yeah, it's the same time, same time. Sepsis is when the infected blood begins to shut down your organs. Oh, it's that bad. Wow. Okay. Brian says, yeah, very bad. No, I mean, I know sepsis is very dangerous. So yeah, that's insane. He screwed up. He screwed up. So sorry. Okay. Oh, you sent a message. Okay, I'll check it out. China filled their missiles with water instead of fuel. It's a corruption thing. Oh, well, no. There was also another story today about China, and it was something about, what was it, guys, in the last 2 days? About China's missile sites. Maybe it was this, but I thought it was something else about the actual construction of their missile sites being like they're really bad and they don't work because the corruption and it was such bad quality. But something about the ICBM site itself. that I also read about in the last couple of days, if anybody remembers. Or was it this? Was this actually it then? Super Hornet says it was this. Maybe it was this. Because I saw the article, but I think because I was flying, I didn't read it. Yeah, the silo doors. I thought it was something about the missile silos. Breakdown saying it's the silo doors won't open. I thought I read something. I did read some of it. The silo lids. Okay, so it was the missile silos as well. Now, mind you, this is very good news. I mean, the fact that the Chinese are having corruption problems like the Russians that are affecting quality control is fabulous. You know, we want, well, first of all, yeah, Val Walker says, sell them to Russia. Good point. You know, we want China to have as bad of corruption and as bad of quality control as the Russians, so that when they go to war, stuff doesn't work as well. That's great. That's very interesting. I didn't see about the water thing. Oh my God, they filled the missiles with water. Could you imagine? The missiles don't launch because they're filled with water. Oh my. Oh well. Oh well. Yeah, so maybe same story, different separate incidents. Okay, that's what it is then. Okay. All right, guys, let's get going. It's an hour and a half into this. All right, I'm gonna head out. Well, head to. I've got a Xbox I've got to set up, so I'm probably gonna set it up tonight. So otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow. All right, Tuesday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S., the usual time. Join me. Thank you for the gifts, guys. Dobra nić, exactly, Just Cat. So the ICBM lids won't open. That's freaking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks for following me, Rickety. Everybody else, do remember to follow me as well. Do remember to hit the like button or whatever it is you've got on your screens. Thank you, mods. Thank you for the gifts. Dinner, I had a little bit of leftover spanakopita that my nephew had made that was in the freezer, and I may just have a snack of something a little later because I ate it before the show. Thank you, Jonathan. So I'm probably going to be a little hungry as time goes on. I've been trying to lose weight, and I've been successful. Oh, interesting. Okay. But the first time I hear English, which I understand as if from Duolingo, what do you mean, Satan Claus? I'm not sure what you mean. Or do you mean my English is good, I hope you mean? I'm not sure what you mean. Can you cook moussaka? Oh, yes, I can make it. It's wonderful. Yeah. It's not really that hard. Phyllo dough is a pain. Phyllo dough, the dough is difficult to use. Once you get used to using it, then the rest of it's easy. Moussaka is very easy otherwise. Oh, not moussaka. I can make moussaka. This is spanakopita, but yeah, moussaka is a little bit harder. It's a little bit more of a pain because you got to make the eggplant and everything, but it's not. Actually, moussaka is probably easier than spanakopita. You just have to get a good recipe, and it takes time because there's lots of different levels. My English and Spanish are great. Thank you. Oop, sorry, getting a little. I always have to like translate your guys' Ukrainian. Oh, I speak clearly. Now, that's one thing I have been accused of. I speak far too quickly, but I do speak clearly. So a lot of foreigners tell me, like, even though I do go a little too quickly for them, at least I speak clearly for an American, which helps. Yeah, and I try to speak clearly when I do shows like this. So, but the speed thing is very difficult. I just have a very hard time. I've always spoken quickly, and it's just Arabic. I tried learning some Arabic when I was in Morocco, and I couldn't. It was just too hard. It was way too hard. And reading it was impossible too. I always tell people, it's like line or drop, and you're like, what the hell was that? You know what I mean? Just very difficult to Arabic was, oh my God, very difficult. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd love to learn Arabic, but also I never studied it because people also told me that, you know, there's so many different versions of Arabic that if you learn the main high Arabic, you're going to sound like a scholar and an idiot. So I was like, okay, forget it, you know. Oh, Chef Gunther, English is not your mother tongue? What's your mother tongue? Just curious before we go. Just curious. We're going to find out what Chef Gunther's mother tongue is, and then we're going to go. Since it has been an hour and a half. Dutch. Oh, you're Dutch. Okay. Yeah, but you guys are great at English, though. You know. Well, Germans, too, of course. Same thing. Eggplant, exactly. We say eggplant. Aubergine, which is the French way. I always say that there's interesting similarities between Antwerp. I've not been to Antwerp. There's an interesting correlation between like the Brits using French words when Americans use a not French word, but very interesting. All right, guys, let me go. All right, it's been an hour and a half. All right, thanks, guys. Look for me tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Washington D.C. time again tomorrow. All right, see you guys. Have a good evening. All right, yeah, ciao. Ciao, ciao, as the Italians say.